What up, y'all? It's your boy Andre. This is another News Across All Arenas episode. Ryan obviously is not here. He's got to tend to his kids, right? There's still school in session, for another few weeks, so, or at least, for another month. So, I'm gonna hold it down for the both of us. But we will release our WrestleMania reactions for just our experience going there for both nights, the matches for both nights. We will be releasing that very soon. So go ahead, check that out. We go through a lot. We go through a lot in that podcast. But if you like what you hear, subscribe, like, comment, really helps us get other people involved with us, you know what I'm saying? So, and yes, I am in the back of my car. I just got off of work. I'm really waiting for the traffic to die down a little bit. So I gotta do what I gotta do. So there's a lot of news. Well, some news you gotta catch up on. So let's get right into it. I don't know how I missed it in the episode that we did with our buddy Rob Moreno, our UFC 314, our UFC 314 preview. I didn't get a chance to watch it, so but I know Volkanovski won. I know Patty Pimblett won. So I didn't really get to watch it, so I don't want to speak too much on that event. But I know Volk got the title back, even though it was vacated by Topuria. Volk got the featherweight title back. Patty Pimblett once again coming through big time, beating Michael Chandler. So, but anyways, I bring that episode up because we were running through some other sports news before we got to our boy Bobby Knuckles. Not I oh man, I just kind of I not even kind of I forgot to mention that the grade 8 Alex Ovechkin, he did it, y'all. 895. He broke Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal scoring record, and he did it in the same amount of games that Wayne Gretzky broke the scoring record. I forget how many games that. I think it's like 17. It's like 1,700 something. But it's just at 39 years old, and the Capitals are currently playing in the playoffs right now. So he's had a historic career. He has a Stanley Cup. He's now the all-time goal scoring leader in NHL history. They don't call him the grade A for nothing, right? He's a goal scorer. He's a natural scorer. Power play, 5-on-5. He just scored his first career playoff overtime game-winning goal. Like, what can't this guy do? He's 39. He has a chance to win a Stanley Cup. He says he's not retiring after this season, so we're going to see more of Ovechkin. Can he get to 1,000 goals? Probably not, but it'd be a hell of a ride to see if that happens. It's 200 more goals. He'd have to play another 2 seasons for him to get there, but maybe not 2 seasons, but maybe a few more seasons to get to 1,000. But he's definitely on his way to 900 for sure. But a hell of a career for Ovechkin. And speaking of the Stanley Cup playoffs, we're underway. It is the best time for hockey. It is my favorite time of the year, especially for my Golden Knights. They just got back to the playoffs. They are currently facing the Minnesota Wild. And listen, game one, it's an important game. Vegas clinches that. Game two, defensive breakdowns, offensive turnovers. I didn't even watch the game. I have score updates set up from ESPN, and once I saw 4-0, I knew exactly what happened. I knew exactly how they lost. And to be fair, they didn't get shut out, right? They got 2 goals back, but defensive breakdowns, offensive turnovers, that's the only reason why they will lose. it's not that they didn't have good scoring chances because they couldn't get any scoring chances, right? They were mostly playing defense. You couldn't sustain any offensive pressure. So um, they go back to Minnesota for game three. Hopefully, we can take one on the road, at least one. Um, but yeah, I I expect them to come back and to respond. They don't have to dominate the whole game, although that's what they did in game one, for the most part. But I do expect a pushback from the Golden Knights. And just to kind of run down through all, the entirety of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I know games have already completed, but I'm gonna give up my picks. Kind of based off what I've seen off the regular season and what I've seen off these first couple of games, and a few of these series. So, starting the Eastern Conference, the Battle of Florida, they just got underway recently, and I honestly thought Tampa was gonna pull away with Game One, but Florida just put on a put on a beating. Matthew Tkachuk comes back for Game One after some time with injury that he sustained in the Four Nations Face-Off tournament. And Matthew Tkachuk 2 goals in this game and his return back from injury. So, after seeing that game, it's still a toss-up for me, but I do have Florida winning that game, and I do have Florida winning that series, I should say. I have Florida winning that series. I I put in 7 games, but I could see them winning in 6 unless Tampa really ramps up their game and they really ramp up their defense and especially their offensive end. Um, if they make a really good pushback in game 2, this will be a long series. I see this going 6-7 games. I don't expect this to be easy for either team. So whoever moves on from this, it's going to have a tougher second round matchup, or just a tough second round series in general. Because when these two teams play, they go at it and they go at it hard. So I expect a physical series, but I do have Florida winning in at least 6 games, at most 7. Toronto, Ottawa, the two Canadian teams in the East battling it out. And man, these are very, both these games are very, very close. I mean, the first 2 games are very close. Um, I know we all know the curse of Toronto, right? They never make it out the first round, but I think this is the year they get out the first round again. Last year Boston beat them in 7. But I do think Toronto wins this series. Not in easy fashion. I do think Ottawa gets a game back in Ottawa. I don't see this being a long series. I think Toronto holds their own, but their second round matchup is going to be tough. And I don't, we'll get there when we get there, but I don't know. I mean, on paper they should make it out the East. They should make it to the final, but I mean, just I don't know the way Toronto plays in these postseason games, man. I don't know. I don't know if I could trust them. So I have Toronto beating Ottawa in 5 in that series. Carolina, New Jersey. It's a very, very interesting matchup. Game 2 was very interesting to watch. New Jersey did pull in close. They did score first, and then Carolina, they scored. They scored 2 in the second. But I don't know. I think this is a closer series than a lot of people think. I do have Carolina winning in 5 or 6 games. I don't see this going to 7, but I do think Carolina holds their own, and at most 6 games. I think New Jersey gets one back in New Jersey. They may even get 2 at home. I think that's how close the series will be. Um, New Jersey, obviously they don't have Jack Hughes due to injury, which, obviously is a big blow to them. They don't have, I think the last time I saw, they don't have Luke Hughes, was one of their young top defensemen on that team. So, they got some injury bugs on that team, but I do think they do win one at home, even though they have some injuries here and there. But I mean, as long as you have Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, I think I think New Jersey holds their own at home. They may get, they may just get one at home, maybe two, but two is pushing it a little bit. I do think they do. I do think they get one at home, but ultimately Carolina is just going to win the game or win the series, probably in at least 5 games. The Washington Capitals, the top team of the East, against Montreal, the last wild card team in the East. I just like the Carolina New Jersey series. I do think this is going to be a closer series than people think. Um, Washington, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, Alex Ovechkin, the overtime game-winning goal in Game One. Um, I do have Washington winning this series. I don't think it will be easy. I think Montreal will push back, um, whether whether it's in Game Two, whether it's back home in Montreal. I do think Montreal does put up a fight. I do see this going to 6 games. I don't see it going to 7. But I do see this going to 6. I do see Washington moving on to the second round, and whoever that second round matchup is going to be, you know, that's also going to be tough for them, right? I don't think Washington makes it out the East. They still have, whoever moves on from Florida, Tampa, whoever moves on from Ottawa, Toronto, like it's still tough competition for Washington, but I do think they hold their own. But I think they'll come out this series in at least 5 games against Montreal. I think just Ovechkin, the season that Ovechkin has had, and just the season that the team has had in general, like it's kind of hard not to bet against them. But I do think I don't know if Washington gets as far as the conference final. There's a chance, there's a pathway, um, and I really hope that they do make it to the conference final. It'd be really nice to see Ovechkin really strive for another cup before he does ultimately retire. So, but as far as this first round series against Montreal, I think Washington makes it through in at least 5 games. So moving on to the Western Conference, we have, like I said earlier, Vegas and Minnesota. Um, you know, I've heard people at work, they're starting to doubt Vegas after one game. Because they allowed 4 goals, in 2 periods. I'm not worried about these Golden Knights right now. I do think Game 3 will be important. I do think Game 3 will be an important game for both teams. Just the way the series has been going, it's been physical, it's been hard. The top 2 lines for Minnesota has definitely put more challenges on Vegas on both ends of the ice. So, we're definitely going to see. I do think it's going to be a closer series than people think. I think a lot of people had Vegas just dominating the Wild. I didn't think that was possible. I didn't see a sweep. I do think Vegas wins it in 5. It could go to 6. I don't see it going to 7. As long as Vegas, for one, stays healthy and they play a complete game like they did in Game 1, I think they win this in 5. They would have to get one in Minnesota, which I do think they will in either games 3 or 4, but they will get one in Minnesota. I think they will, knowing this team and having watched this team for as long as I have, they're going to push back and they're going to push hard, and they're not going to let they're not going to let their game slip away. And I think they've learned that from last year when they played Dallas, right? They were up 2-0, then Dallas won the next 3. Vegas ties it to force a Game 7. And, ultimately, Vegas gets knocked out in 7 games against Dallas. But I do think they've definitely got they've definitely got a chip on their shoulder. They've got a little pep to their step, and they want to get back to the final. They want to get back to the cup final and really establish themselves as a dominating team in the NHL, right? I mean, they've been here for 8 years. for 8 seasons. They've won the division 4 times, the Pacific Division 4 times. They've won the Stanley Cup. They've made it to multiple conference finals. They're gonna push back, knowing this team, and on the Minnesota side, like they're not gonna make it easy on Vegas. Kirill Kaprizov, Joel Eriksson Ek, Matt Boldy, Brock Faber, right? All of those guys, right? They're definitely not going to make it easy for Vegas to really sustain, true offensive, a true offensive possession, I guess if you want to say. Um, you've seen it in game 2 where Minnesota's defense was way better than what it was in game 1. They forced turnovers. They were able to get to their spots. They were able to score goals, right? And they were able to play their game. So um, this one's going to be a very fun series to watch. Not only just me as a Vegas fan, but just as a hockey fan in general. Colorado, Dallas. This is another big series. Obviously, Mikko Rantanen being on the Stars, facing against his former team in Colorado. I do have Colorado winning in 7. I think this is going to be a long, long series. It's I don't know how physical it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be that physical. But these teams are going to go toe for toe offensively, and it's just who has the better goaltender. And I don't trust Ottinger. I've never trusted Ottinger, and I know they made it as far as the Western Conference Final last season. But I don't trust Ottinger. I don't think he's a top 10 goaltender in the league. I don't trust him. I I can't depend on Ottinger to win the series. And I think Colorado's just a bigger team. They're not the faster team, but they're definitely the bigger team, and physicality plays a bigger role in the postseason than it does in the regular season. So, yeah, I like Colorado in the series. You can't bet against McKinnon, and now they're getting back Landeskog, and they brought in Brock Nelson and Charlie Coyle. The goaltending has been better. That's why I like Colorado. It's not going to be easy, and they may finish the season, way earlier, but I see this going back and forth. I think it's going to be a back and forth series between both teams. Aside from the Vegas Minnesota series, this is the next series that I'm most interested in, just not only because of the storylines, but just because of how both teams play, how they match up so well, the different styles of their game, the players that are involved. Everything about that series says Game 7. So I have Colorado in 7. And then we have Winnipeg, the top team in the West this year, against St. Louis. Winnipeg currently leads 2-0. I do see St. Louis winning at home. I don't know if they'll win 2 at home, but I do see them winning at least 1. But I do have Winnipeg to win, and I have Winnipeg to win in 5, 6 maybe if St. Louis gets one if St. Louis gets 2 at home. But I think Winnipeg they're going to hold their ground. I think Hellebuck in the postseason has been he's been he's been streaky, but I think they hold their own in this round. I do think they move on. But as long as Hellebuck plays the Vezina type performance that he's been playing all season long, I think they can make it as far as the conference final. I think that's how good that team is. When Hellebuck is good, when he's on his game, Winnipeg has a really good chance to win games. So as long as Hellebuck makes crucial saves, as long as he plays his game, Vezina type performances, it's going to be hard to beat this team. It's going to be hard. And then we have the Kings and the Oilers for the 4th year in a row. These teams just can't get enough of each other. I know Vegas is one of the top teams in the Pacific, but man, for the Kings and the Oilers to face 4 years in a row in the first round. And Edmonton has won all three of them so far, but I don't know. I think the Kings win it. I think the Kings win it this year, and I know everybody else thinks the Kings are going to win it. I'm going to jump on that bandwagon. I do think they're going to win it in six. There may be a possible seven, but I don't see this. I don't see a sweep happening. I don't see this a five. I don't see this as a 5 game series. I do think this will go to at least six. This has a game seven written all over it, but I I don't know. You can't depend on McDavid and Draisaitl. I know they're getting Kane back. I know they're getting John Klingberg back. But I mean, Stuart Skinner just hasn't been. I know they just went to the final last year, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, this is still a good team, and McDavid is still McDavid, and Draisaitl is still Draisaitl. But Stuart Skinner, when it matters the most, couldn't pull through. So I don't know. It's going to be a very, very close series. All four of these Western Conference series in the first round is going to be very, very close. I feel like the Eastern Conference is more wide open um, than it is in the West, but that's the beauty of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The best teams win. The best teams make it out the first round, and you just got to find a way. And I think the Kings overall have a better roster than the Oilers. You got guys like Kopitar still playing, Doughty and Kempe, Fiala, Byfield, right? Trevor Moore still there as well. So he's got a mix of young and old players on that team. Got some veterans as well. So I like the Kings in this series just for the fact that I can trust Darcy Kemper more than I can Stuart Skinner. The Kings are more physically built than the Oilers. I know the Oilers have some heavy hitters on that team, but I think as the series goes along, I think the Kings will they'll out they'll they'll out hit them. I guess they'll be the more physical team, but it's still early on in the series. It's still early on, so we'll have to see and watch, see what happens. And then lastly, to wrap things up, we're gonna take it back to the F1 track. You know what I'm saying? We gotta show some love to F1. Come on now. Come on now. We gotta show some love to F1. We gotta show love to my team this year, McLaren. Oscar Piastri going back-to-back wins in the Bahrain, and the Bahrain and the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. He just won, and he also won the Chinese Grand Prix as well. I'm telling y'all, McLaren, this is McLaren's year. This is McLaren's year. They're shooting for the stars. I mean, they just won constructors last year, and they're damn well on their way to win constructors this year. But man, I just I like the things that are happening in McLaren. I think the communication over the years, over these last few years, have been better. I saw a video recently online on the F1 website, and it kind of showed the journey of like McLaren finally winning constructors after a long time, and I think that just kind of carried over to this year, and how how they're improving on their cars, how they're designing it for the tracks, and every team does that, right? They make improvements to their cars, they make changes to their cars depending on the track that they're in. So but I just think that when you have racers like Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri there, you got to and you want to be able to beat guys like Mighty Max Verstappen, right? You got to be able to build cars that will compete against Mighty Max. And speaking of Mighty Max, he just won the Japan Grand Prix for a fourth year in a row. So, he's still not out of it, man. He's carried Red Bull as much as he can. Um, but hey, I mean, I know Yuki isn't, he's not matched for Verstappen, but he's definitely doing a lot better than Liam Lawson. So, um, I and you know, I I I think Yuki. I think Yuki, as long as he stays within top 10, I think he'll be fine. As long as he can stay in the top 10 positioning uh, throughout this season, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll stay with Red Bull for at least next season, to kind of help Max Verstappen help kind of carry that load as well for Red Bull. So I do like Yuki, man. I like Yuki a lot. He's definitely come a ways to where he's at right now. But McLaren, I'm telling y'all right now, McLaren, this is their year. Lando Norris, he's gonna gun for that championship. He's gonna gun for that F1 championship, and oh man, I just really love what I see from McLaren, man. I really, really do. And especially this past race in Saudi Arabia and Jeddah. Um, the qualifying round, that third qualifier between Max and Oscar. I mean, Max just beat him by like a hundredth of a second. It was that close, but Piastri ends up winning the race at the end, and he beat Max Verstappen by 2 seconds. So it's just, you got to get good positioning right in qualifiers. Then you got to get to the actual race and be like, all right, this is what we got to do. If we were this close in qualifiers, then we know what to do to win this race. And that's all I got. That's all I got for y'all for this week's News Across All Arenas. Like I said, we're going to drop our WrestleMania 41 reactions this week. So make sure y'all check that out. We go through a lot. We go through both nights from an experience standpoint to the matches, our reviews on the matches. Not all the matches, but some of the bigger, some of the bigger ones and some of our favorite ones. We go through obviously both main events, the triple threat between Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns, and the night 2 main event between Cody Rhodes and John Cena. We go through that, and we got a little special guest at the end of that. We got a little special guest. Y'all seen him before. Y'all seen him recently. He put out his predictions and all of that. So make sure y'all check that out. And if y'all like what y'all hear, man, if y'all like what y'all heard today, subscribe, comment, like, listen to us on wherever platforms, whatever streaming platform, whatever podcast streaming platform y'all are on. Go show love to the YouTube page. It really helps us a lot. And we can't thank y'all so much for the support on social media. We see y'all, Boston Bruins fans. I still feel for y'all. Don't worry. I seen all the comments about Don Sweeney. I seen the comments about Cam Neely. So don't worry, y'all. Man, don't worry, y'all. I see y'all. I feel for y'all. And I just hope things are better for y'all there, man, because, man, y'all don't deserve this. Y'all don't deserve this, man. After all those years, after all those successful years, you don't deserve that, man. Y'all don't deserve that. But we appreciate the support, the engagement, the love on social media. To everybody that says I still look like Zach Edey, I'm gonna still buy a Grizzlies jersey. I'm gonna buy my Zach Edey jersey. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna wear it on one of these pods one of the days. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna wear it on one of these pods one day. And then y'all, and I'm gonna give y'all some Zach Edey. You know what I'm saying? So, oh man, that's still funny, man. That's still funny. But that's all I got. And until next time, we'll see y'all in the next episode. Deuces.